Good morning. We are on chapter 10. What is the history of American education? I love it that all the chapters our titles are questions. So do you know the history of American education? You're going to find out. Let me share the PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. Um, this is a funny slide that I put in here when we dressed up for Halloween. And I don't know if it's still popular, but Duck Dynasty, which on the far, I don't know, left right here where my arrow's pointing, if you can see it, is Nan Pennington, Celinda Palmer, Linda Bland, and Joanne Morales. And we did win the contest. So no, they all thought we were men. So why should we study? Why is it important? Who cares? So many of our students don't really know educational history, and if we don't know history, we'll tend to repeat it, right? And how did these moral lessons you were taught in school compare with those taught in early American schools? I just started reading the book by, let me look it up, my Kindle, Truths, The Future of America. Let me find the title again, by Vivek Ramaswamy. And he talks about 10 truths, and one of them is the moral decline of our country if we don't have a belief in a higher being that created this world. So that's interesting to know. We began this country with talking about God, and now we're kind of moved to secular humanism, and people are made fun of for believing in God. And it's not a forced thing. That was never the intent when we started the country and wrote the Constitution. It was to have the freedom to choose. And there's no proof whether there is a God or isn't a God. So why are we giving the people who believe in God such a hard time these days? Okay, so in schools, these are some of the themes. Local control. That was how the Constitution, our founders set up our schools, so that every district is so different. I know I worked at a couple different districts, and like in Fort Thomas, they didn't even have books or computers in their home or done preschool. And then you have Thatcher, where they're all going to preschool and going on all these field trips with their families. Universal education has to do with everybody on the same page. Public education was started to try to equalize the playing field. Comprehensive education means trying to meet all the different needs of schools. Secular is without God. Changing idea of the basics, what we originally reading, writing, arithmetic, how we changed, and expanding the definitions of making it more equitable. And these are some of the things that we talk about in our groups in the class, that were the questions. What should be the role of federal government? The federal government has kind of taken over our school districts. Why? Is it useful? Is it working? How do we ensure the quality of education no matter where you live in the United States? And should private and religious schools receive public tax support? In Arizona right now with the vouchers, they do. And they have a court case, actually. Two mothers are suing Arizona government for making them write down what they spent their money on. I have a really big opinion of this because, yes, I'm in public education. I have to account for what I spend public funds. That is, I hope they don't win. Okay, comprehensive. Should all the schools require all students vocational and college prep, or follow the common curriculum? How should schools treat religion? And what says basic education? What else should we add? And how do schools close the achievement gaps? Okay, and here's some notes that you'll have in your PowerPoint that talked about how federal government was not supposed to be involved, and how it all, these are just notes that I took of the chapter. These are also some notes I took of the chapter, so you know which states were considered those different sections that it talks about. And there's a video. I don't know if you can link on the videos or not. Here's what was going on. New England, the Puritans, they had dame schools to get women ready to be wives and mothers, and then they started moving them around to where those people were. And they had a religious orientation, the first form of public schools. The middle colonies were more diverse because it was more like a private school today, where they spoke German or whatever religion they believed in, that was the school. In the South was a lack of formal education for our African American slaves. and long distance between plantations. So they had tutors that they hired to teach private tutoring for the very wealthy. Common school was the first brought up. It kind of reminds me of today's vouchers paying for private or religious schooling. So is it our responsibility to pay for a private school where you're going to learn your own religion and your own language, or is that your own private money should be spent? Okay, here's some interesting European educators, how kindergarten started, and some of these influences from Europe, and some of them from America, John Dewey and what he believed in. And since World War II, these are some things that have happened. Title I is kind of like special ed, but it's not, they don't have a disability in one of the 15 categories, but they're just a little behind in math or reading. But that was the first time we brought up differentiated instruction. Here's how secondary school started. I think I have a chart that I love, so you can see what was going on with Latin grammar and English grammar, all these different types of schools. Junior high, middle school has had a different trajectory than maybe you knew about, and what was the purpose. Some people criticize the exclusion of just that age group anyway, saying our test scores go down, but are the test scores going down because of the age group and the way their brain is developing, or is it because they're separated? I don't know that I agree with the author that little has changed in high schools. I think a lot has changed. And here's some information in the chapter about private education. Then we just discuss all these different education of these different minorities. And here's some information. I love this isn't in the book, so be sure and look at this. And then each different ethnicity was talked about. How to help ELLs. There's so many different ways, and Arizona has a very prescriptive and detailed program. And so that's it. Let me stop my share, and I hope you enjoyed this opening. Have a wonderful day.